Hey, everybody. We're live. Thanks for coming. Welcome back. My name is Yori Chisholm, as you probably know, from bagpipelessons.com. And I have been doing these fun YouTube lives over the last few months. They've been really great. More and more people tuning in. And this is your chance to ask me a question live. And I answer some of the questions that I get through my website and through my social media channels. So if you are joining live or if you're on the replay, just put in the comments your name and where you're from, how long you've been piping, and we'll get into it. So I see Officer Snap is with us again, and we also have Mark Lamont. So guys, just put in the chat where you're from and a little bit about yourself, and if you got any questions in there. So first question from Officer Snap says, when purchasing your first set of pipes, what tools and accessories would you say are necessary, almost necessary, and just good to have on hand? So that's a great question. So, so when I set up pipes for students or for people who reach out to me through bagpipelessons.com, I give different options. So what's kind of the basics is what you need just to get started with your pipes. So that's, if you want to talk like the absolute bare essentials, would say you need your pipes. And when you buy a set of pipes, often they come fully set up, but you can also get them with what they call sticks only. And sticks only is the 3 drones, the blowpipe, and 5 stocks. So the 3 tenor stocks, the blowpipe stock, and the chanter stock. That is sticks only. And I do sell the RG Hardy acetal bagpipes, which are their plastic or poly bagpipes. And I have those up in my shop. Just put those up this week. And sticks only, that's what you get. And that's if you're looking to have the lowest price point and to customize your pipes yourself for exactly how you want them. The next level up is what I call the basics. And that in addition to the pipes, you need a pipe chanter. You need your reeds. So you need a set of drone reeds and a pipe chanter reed. You need a pipe bag. And then you need cords, the drone cords, to hold your pipes together. That's the absolute minimum that you need for a set of pipes that is playable. So that's the pipes with the pipe chanter, your drone reeds, your chanter reed, a bag, and the drone cords. Now, in addition to that, there are some things that I recommend. You're going to want to get a chanter cap for your pipe chanter. So when you're not playing, you can pull it out. And of course, you want to have the tone protector, which is a humidity controlling chanter cap, which is my invention and my best-selling product. I'm also going to recommend a moisture control system. My favorite is the dry flow. So the dry flow are the canisters that go inside your bag, and they attach to the bottoms of your drone stocks. And what they do is they have silica gel, which is a desiccant, and it absorbs the moisture from your breath. So as the air that you blow into the bag travels through those desiccant canisters, the silica gel absorbs the moisture, and then by the time it gets to the end of the canister, to your drone reed and to your drone, the air has been mostly dried out, so it's nice and warm air. So I'm going to recommend the dry flow system. The next thing, let's check out my notes here. I'm also going to recommend the my tone protector reed case. That's to get it for your backup pipe chanter reeds or some extra reeds, maybe one you've already played that you still have kicking around that might have some more life in it, or just some new reeds you haven't played yet. You're going to want to have a roll of hemp, so black or yellow waxed hemp. A couple of the things that I like is I recently released my bagpipelessons.com precision tuning toolkit. So that has some things that are going to help you get your pipe chanter in shape. One of them is going to be your Piper's Ultimate Reed Poker for opening up your reeds when they get too easy. It also comes with the elastic bridles for your pipe chanter reeds when they get too hard. It comes with a roll of my favorite high performance black tuning tape that's pre-cut to the 1/2 inch width. And it comes with a sanding pad, which you can use for sanding the blades of the reed when the reed is a little bit, needs to be freed up a little bit. And that's often if you have a crowy top hand or if the reed just isn't responding properly. So that's, we're just adding more and more things here to make your piping experience a little bit better. Now, there are some additional tools that I really like. I released a product a few years ago, and it's the perfect angle blowpipe positioner. So what that does is it's a system that you attach to your drone stocks and to your chanter stock, and there's a couple of straps that you can adjust. And what it does by adjusting the straps is you can angle your blowpipe so that it's at the right angle in the right position for your mouth. People who have these really, really love these. And the reason they love it so much, and the reason I love it, is that it keeps your blowpipe right where you want it to be, and you don't have to bite down on it. So as far as I know, correct me if I'm wrong, but I cannot think of another musical instrument where you're required to hold something in your teeth. Now, there are other instruments where you might place it in your mouth or you place it in your teeth. Woodwind instruments, you can think of like the harmonica and the Jew's harp. These are in your mouth, but you're holding them. You're holding them with your hand. And the blowpipe is the only thing that I can think of where the pipers actually have to hold it with their teeth. And if you let go, depending on your bag and your blowpipe and how things are set up, it can pop out. And that's a problem because it means you have to bite down really hard to hold it in position. So that's why I came up with the perfect angle blowpipe positioner. I recommend this. Your jaw and your teeth will thank you for it. What it allows you to do is when you take a breath, not only can you release your lips off the blowpipe, you can actually release your teeth. And sometimes after I've been playing a while, sometimes it just feels good to just be able to take the mouth off and then go right back on. And it's right there. So also on my list of things, let's see. Brushes. You're going to want a set of brushes. So I have these on the shop. It's these RG Hardy, really nice cotton absorbing brushes in different sizes for swabbing out the inside of your stocks and your drones, your bass and tenor drone, and the thin bore sections and the wider sections at the top. You want to have a set of brushes because at some point or another, maybe sooner rather than later, you're going to be getting moisture inside your pipes. And my rule is that I never let moisture sit inside my pipes. Now, if you're in really, really challenging conditions, like if you're playing a really long time and it's cold, you get more condensation, or if you're playing in the rain, your pipes will get wet on the outside, maybe on the inside. That's unavoidable in certain situations, but my rule is as soon as I'm done playing, all of that moisture comes out of the pipes. So if it's a rainy day and it gets wet on the outside, I'm wiping off the exterior parts of my pipes completely, and then I'm using my brushes to brush everything out inside the chanter if it's really wet in there, inside all of the stocks, inside the drones if there's any moisture in there. So you're going to want to get us some brushes. And then I have 3 accessories that will make your life a lot easier. One is for tuning, and that's my InTune mic. So that's the wireless instrument microphone for your smartphone. So one of my most popular products, along with the tone protector and the bagpipe gauge. And people love the InTune mic because it lets you use these powerful tuning apps that you have on your phone for your bagpipes. Makes it real easy. You can have your phone sitting in front of you on a table or connected with your bagpipe phone mount and have it right mounted to your pipes, and you can see it. And the clip-on wireless mic allows you to tune your drones and tune your chanter really fast with great precision, and it's super easy. So I was just working with a band here in Seattle last night that I teach every Wednesday night, and I'm using my InTune mic and my smartphone through the entire practice. It makes it really easy to tune drones. I'm just holding the phone in one hand, and then the clip-on mic goes onto a drone, and I can tune it. Next drone, tune it up to the bass, and I can tune it. So I don't have to be reaching way up with my phone and trying to get the microphone of the phone up to the drone. I can just be holding the phone comfortably in my hand, tuning the drone with another hand, and then the microphone is clipped up on the top of the drone where the mic is positioned right above the drone. You can tune in a completely noisy environment. like a pipe band situation, because the microphone placement is right next to what you're trying to measure with the tuner. So the problem with the phone is that the microphone is in the phone and the display is in the phone. So in order to be able to see it, you have to have it where you can see it with your eyes, but then the microphone needs to be right up against what you're tuning. So you can do that when you're tuning someone else's drone just by holding the phone microphone right next to the top of the drone. The in-tune mic makes it really easy to tune chanters. So what I'll do is I use the bra bagpipe tuner, clip it onto somebody's chanter. And the way that the bra tuner works, different than any other tuner, is that it listens to all the notes that you're playing continuously. You don't have to play a note and look at the tuner. It's just listening. And as it's listening, it's adjusting the display for every note on the chanter. So here's an example of somebody from last night. So they were playing there, and you can see if the note has a check mark on it, it's in tune, right in the middle. If it's to the right, it's sharp. It's to the left, it's flat. Has another display up top. So I'll just clip the in-tune mic onto somebody's chanter and give it 30 seconds or a minute to listen to that. And it's adjusting all those little dots on the screen. And while I'm doing that, I can be doing something else. I can be going around listening to other people. I can be instructing the band. If you're doing this yourself, for yourself, you can just be playing. You're just playing your tune. You're practicing. You're working on your stuff. And the mic is clipped onto your chanter and the tuner is listening. And then you can stop. And you go, oh, this is what I need to do. A couple notes are sharp. Maybe put a little bit of tape there. A couple notes are flat. Maybe take a little bit of tape off. And it works perfectly, even in a situation where you have a dozen bagpipers playing. So the secret is that the microphone is placed right up close to the one thing that you want to listen to. So the way that I do it is I clip the mic behind at the bottom of the pipe chanter with the mic just behind the chanter. So just kind of like below where your thumb is on the back of the chanter. And what that does, it seems to have a nice little pocket there between the chanter and the player's body. And all that microphone hears is that one chanter. Works really, really great. Make your adjustments. And then I go and I move on to the next person. So I think what I need to do is I need to make a video for the channel about how to tune a pipe band and show the whole process. But it's as simple as getting a reading off the pipe major or whoever is sort of like you want to use as the foundation for your sound, and go, okay, that's where we're going to start. 484, calibrate the tuner, hit all the drones real quick if the drones are really out, and then just go one player at a time and go around and use the bra tuner and make the adjustments. At the band that I work with here in Seattle, what we've experimented with a little bit is having multiple phones and multiple in-tune mics. Ideally, you could have a phone and a mic for every single player, and every player just has their bra tuner going, maybe just on a table in front of them or a music stand, and microphone clipped around, and then the tuning person could go around and just take a look at what the tuner is showing, make the adjustments as needed, and move around. Or you could have multiple people doing that. Or if your players are capable of making their own tuning adjustments, easy. Just play and play and play, and then you say, okay, everybody, stop and make your adjustments that you need to, and then you get your band in tune super fast. The tuner eliminates the need to rely on your ear. You can still use your ear if you have a good one, but in a noisy situation like a pipe band, it's really hard to pick out individual notes in the whole sound ecosystem there with all the different sounds. So it eliminates the need to trust your ear, and it also speeds up the process, because even when you're really good at tuning with your ear, sometimes you get it wrong. You'll hear that a note is out, and then you'll think it's sharp, and then you'll flatten it, but it actually was flat. So trust me that even people that are really good at tuning, they occasionally will make the mistake of just going in the opposite direction. Cool. So in-tune mic, I mentioned the bagpipe phone mount. That's what this looks like. Touches to your blowpipe stock, and then you can mount your phone right on your blowpipe. And this is super fun for lots of different reasons. It's great for tuning. You can see your tuner right here. You're basically completely not only wireless, but you're completely mobile. So this is a perfect for if you're at the Highland Games and you don't have a music stand or a place to set your phone. You got your in-tune mic clipped to your pipes. You got your phone here. Works great. And then I also recommend my bagpipe gauge for learning to blow steady. I've got a new video coming out soon about the bagpipe gauge, but this is really the secret if you want to have a great sound. There's a lot of things that go into having a great sound, like tuning. So the in-tune mic is for, like setup. So having a good set of drone reeds, having a good pipe channel reed that is properly stored, like in your tone protector. But in addition to the skill of tuning and the equipment and the skill of setting up your equipment, the skill that you need to have a great sound is steady bag pressure. So that's why this bagpipe gauge works so well. You plug the stopper with the tube into one of your drones. I do the middle tenor, but you could do the outside tenor. You could do the bass. I typically don't do the bass because if you cork off a drone, it doesn't make sound. So corking off one of the tenors doesn't affect the sound as much rather than the bass. And then this comes with a little strap that you can mount this to your blowpipe as well with my deluxe strap. And you can just look at it right on your blowpipe. And what it does is it does one thing incredibly powerful, which is it measures and displays the pressure inside your pipes. If it's wiggling back and forth, means you need to be steadier. So the amount of movement and how much the extremes of the movement will show you how steady you are. We call steady blowing. It's really a combination of blowing and squeezing with the arm. But really, ideally, it would go to a specific number and it would hold it there. Now, if you look at the scale right in the middle there at the top, it says 30. That is 30 inches of water, and that's kind of in the green zone there. Most pipers are right around 30. I have used the gauge with hundreds of pipers over the years, and I would say 99% of pipers are in that green zone between 25 and 35. Once you get over 35, if you like playing hard pipes like that, go for it. But most pipers, I know, they're suffering, and they're suffering in terms of their comfort. And you also are going to be suffering in terms of how well you can play because you're just working too hard. You're blowing too hard, you're squeezing too hard, and you lose your dexterity, and it's just overwhelming. So check out the bagpipe gauge. It gives you two pieces of information. It shows you how steady you are, and it also gives you an exact reading of how hard your pipes are. So a real common issue that we all face from time to time is something doesn't feel right with our pipes. And it can sometimes be a question of, is there something going on? Is there something wrong with my pipes, or is it me? And the first thing that I will ask a student who's having issues, I'll say, well, what does it say on the gauge? And that's the first thing to do, because you want to know, like, is the pressure way off, or is the pressure in the range of where it should be? And if it's in the range where it should be, then it could be that your pipes are taking too much air, meaning you have a leak. So the pressure level is right, but you're just having to push too much air through those pipes because of the leak. Or it could be that there's something going on with you physically, like you haven't been playing enough and you're a little bit out of shape. So that's what the gauge is really good for. So that's what I have on sort of on my list. There are other gadgets as well, but that's what I have on the list for sets of pipes. Or sort of the absolute basics would be just getting a set of sticks. Then you need to add the drone cords and the pipe bag and reeds to be playable. But then after that, there are other things that you are definitely going to want: your dry flow moisture control system, your tone protector reed case, your tone protector channel cap. You're going to need some hemp and some brushes, and you're probably going to want some things to get your pipes set up and tuned, like my tuning toolkit with the poker and the elastics and the sander and the tape. And you're going to want my bagpipe gauge and the phone mount and the mic. So that's kind of a bunch of my products, but that's been what I've been doing over the years, is figuring out the things that pipers struggle with. And these things are things that I've struggled with myself over the years and with my students, and try to seek solutions to help pipers out. And then if it doesn't exist, try to see if there's something that I can come up with that's helpful for me and helpful for my students. I mean, the original bagpipe gauge was just something that I made a one-off, trying to find the right gauge online and trying to find the tubing and trying to find a cork and trying to put it all together. And I encouraged my students. I said, well, here, I built one, you can build one. And most of them wouldn't do it. It's like, it's too complicated to go and try to get all these parts. Some of these are really hard specialty parts to find, like this little attachment here. So I said, okay, I'll make a batch of them. I made a batch of these bagpipe gauges, and they really loved them. And now I have them manufactured, and it's a cool, slick little package, and you can keep it right in your pipe case. Cool. Great question. All right, Mark Lamont, been piping since '99 from Chicago. Great, and you're sharing what you play here. That is great. Officer Snap says, I took your advice and rewound my practice chanter with wax dental floss. Should I still get the roll of hemp? If you're still at the practice chanter stage, you don't really need hemp at this point. You know, if you've got your practice chanter with O-rings or with some dental floss on there, but you're going to need some wax hemp, you know, when it comes time to get those pipes, for sure. All right. If you're just joining us and you're watching, pop a comment into the chat there. Tell us where you're from, a little bit about your piping, and would love to hear from you. So, all right, I got some questions here that have come in through the website. Let's see here. So it's a really common question that I get into the website. I will email out some of my free guides and free information. And in one of the emails, I ask, what are some of the greatest challenges that you face in your piping? And this is a really common one, which is, first, it's hard for me to set aside the time to practice with a full-time job that includes overtime and a family with kids and volunteering. It's just trying to keep up with life. It gets difficult to make time for piping. So if you feel that way, welcome. That means you are living a full and exciting life, and you're definitely not bored. And what I found over the years is that things change with work and family and travel and hobbies and other things that you're involved with. I totally understand that. I've experienced that with my students. And it's just okay to acknowledge that, sometimes just life gets in the way and there are other priorities, and that is totally okay. Obviously, family, work, other commitments can get in the way. But what I want to encourage you to do is to think about, and this is also, I would say, have this conversation if you are, maybe it's not an issue of time, but it's just kind of an issue of motivation, or just trying to make use of the time. I would say the important thing is to think about why you love piping. Think about why you do it. Maybe you want to go back and think about the thing that originally inspired you to take up this instrument. What are the things that you love about being a piper? Maybe it's you want to compete. Maybe you're part of a pipe band, and being part of that group and doing performances in the community is a big part of it. Maybe this is just something that you do as a personal challenge. Maybe you have a connection to Scotland, and maybe that's part of your heritage, or you just have an affinity for that part of Scottish culture. Think about what it is that inspires you and that motivates you. Bagpipes is fun, and it's something that you do because you choose to do it. You don't have to do it. So just take a little bit of time to, kind of meditate on that and reflect on that, and, maybe even take some notes. Because what I found is if you've taken the time to sort of reconnect with your inspiration and sort of reflect on the things that you love about it, then that's automatically you're going to be more excited about playing. You're going to be more excited about practicing. If there's something that's bugging you, maybe you're bored with your tunes and you need a new tune, or maybe there's something isn't right with your instrument. We've all been there, and it's really hard to find the enjoyment in playing when your instrument isn't working right. If you need a new reed, or if there's some maintenance that needs to be done, or maybe you need some new equipment. But finding that thing that you love about it, and just to give you that kind of get up and go, and that inspiration to get back to it. The other thing I would say is that maybe you can skip that whole thing about trying to get inspired, and you just get back on the process and say, well, you know what? I'm going to commit to practicing 4 times a week. So I get 4 days on, 3 days off every week, no more than 2 days off in a row. And I'm just going to commit to that for the next month and see how it goes. And I find there are things that are of a physical nature, like exercise. Maybe if you've done some jogging before, if you used to go to the gym and you're not doing it anymore, it can be hard to get back into it. So sometimes we think that the inspiration needs to come first, and then that drives the behavior. But I think there's a lot of evidence that we can reverse that process, which is forget about feeling motivated or inspired for the minute, and just say, I'm going to just get going on the process. I'm going to get my routine going, and maybe how I feel about it will change. And I've certainly found that with a lot of things, which is if you can just make a commitment to yourself to go, I don't have to do this for forever. And if I don't want to do it, I'm not going to force myself to do it, but I'm going to make a short-term commitment to see how I feel after a week or 3 or 4 weeks of just doing it, and doing a little bit every day for 4 or 5 days a week, and try that. There are certain things physical things, athletic things, exercise things. This bagpiping certainly has this physical component to it that it just doesn't feel great until you kind of get your motor going and get those muscles going. And then finally, if you're talking about trying to fit it into a busy life, there's a saying, which is if you want to get something done and you need to ask someone for help, ask a busy person, because they know how to get things done and they know how to be efficient with their time. So I certainly have found that having a family and having lots of things going on in my personal and my business life, I can still get a lot done, but I just have to be more organized and proactive about it. So it's kind of a life skill thing, but this is definitely something that I'm trying to, set an example for my kids, and something that I teach them through example and also explicitly, which is to take control of your time and to take control of your attention, so that the most important things in your life get the time and attention that they want. We live in a time where there's more distractions now than there ever have been ever in the history of humanity, because we have the entire world of technology available to us, right here on your phone or on your computer. So the person who wants to live a life of where they are setting the direction for their life, part of that is to be proactive and to persist in the things and take the time to be organized and set aside time for the things you want to do, but also to intentionally resist and avoid distractions. So that's a big thing that I think about every day. What are the most important things that I want to accomplish today, or this week, or this month, or this in the next 12 weeks? And make sure that you're setting aside time for the important things. I love it when I'm teaching young people, teenagers especially, and they tell me that they're too busy for piping. They love piping and they want to pipe. They're studying with me. It's important to them and to their parents to invest in this part of their education, but they're too busy. And I love that conversation, because it opens up this discussion of, okay, well, let's talk about the things that you're doing, and it might be the first time that young person is having this realization that actually, if I'm going to be able to do this thing, which is important to me, I'm going to have to make some sacrifices and be more intentional with how I spend my time, right? So, for example, I will ask, how many hours this week did you spend playing video games? I'm not a fan of video games. That's just my thing. Some people love them and find them relaxing. I just personally think they're a big, colossal waste of time. And I would rather spend my time practicing my pipes, spending time with my kids, doing other things rather than getting immersed in this digital world. So that's your personal choice. But if you are finding it challenging to get the motivation or to find the time to do with your piping, take a look at how you're spending your time. Try to find if there's things about your piping that you can focus on that are more inspiring and motivating to you, or skip that step and just say, okay, I'm going to schedule this into my weekly schedule. And if you've got 15 or 20 minutes 4 times a week or more, you're rolling. And I often find that if you schedule a short session, you're more likely to do it. And often when you get going on that short session, you want to keep going once you're over the hump. Cool. Great question. All right. So we got more stuff in the chat. Officer Snap is from Huntsville. Fantastic. Have some friends down there. Have never been down there. Matthew said piping since Thanksgiving Day 2000. Great. I didn't know that, Matt. That's cool. It's a very specific day. That's excellent. Leo is from Montrose, BC, Canada. Cool. Great. So Mark says, I thought solo piping was the end-all, be-all until I attended my first band rehearsal. Then I was hooked. Listening to the roll-offs and the drone striking in is awesome. I agree. I mean, I love the sound of a solo bagpipe. I got to say, I agree with you that when you are in a band and you have that kind of visceral experience of being in that group and having all those bagpipes kicking in together, it's just an amazing sound. And I played in the SFU pipe band for 19 years as one of the world's top bands, won the world championships with them. A lot of great things about the band, great friends, fun experiences, tremendously challenging and engaging, fun tunes, cool arrangements. But I got to say, right at the top is the experience of playing in that circle with 20 to 30 bagpipers, all playing at that world-class level, pipes, chanters, all in tune. And it takes a lot of work and there's a lot of moving parts to get that band to be at that level of cohesion and unison of playing and tuning. But when it happens, it's just an amazing experience. So you can experience that at every level, but certainly for me, playing in SFU for all those years, that was absolutely one of the peak experiences that I've had as a musician, and something that I look forward to each year was that those performances where the tone and the playing all came together. We won the Worlds in 2008 and 2009, and I remember coming off and the player next to me, I mean, it's a very emotional experience. It's a lot of pressure. So you can think about those like sports highlights where, like a tennis match where there's just so much concentration and tension, and then the player hits that final point and then they win and they collapse. Like, that's kind of the feeling. It's a huge relief and a sense of accomplishment, and it's just a very emotional experience after all that tension, and then it's instantly over. So it's a very similar feeling at the Worlds. You have this performance, you've been leading up to it for the whole year, maybe for your whole career. It's an amazing experience, and then you come off. And I remember feeling that sense of emotion and excitement, especially when it's one of the greatest performances you've ever been a part of. And the piper standing next to me was just overcome with emotion. And he said, I just never thought that I would play. I just never thought I would play like this, that it could sound that good. So it's just an amazing experience. And regardless of what level you're at, you have that ability to, when you're in a band, to push yourself and to have that amazing communal experience. I think that's one of the best things about playing in a band is, you do have that team to rely on, and you have that team that is relying on you. So they are supporting you, but you also need to do your part. So in that way, it can be very inspiring and motivating, because you want to be a good team player and you want to be a contributor, and you want to be a person that raises the level of the band, and that's can be tremendously fun and inspiring to be part of that. Yeah, Mark says it's like winning the Stanley Cup. Yeah, I mean, it's to play in the Worlds is a great experience. To play in the Worlds at the grade 1 level and be, in a winning band, it's like fantastic. You never forget it. But I don't think about it every day. I don't have any trophies or medals displayed in my house. I know some people do. Those are great memories, and I'm very proud of those accomplishments, but I don't need them hanging around my house. I also don't hang my college diploma up either. It's in a box somewhere. It's just my thing. Okay. Officer Snap, which is your favorite of the starter tunes, and which gave you the most trouble? Wow. Okay. That's going way back for me. My first tune was Scott's Wahey, 6/8 slow air from the College of Piping Green Book. I think that's a fantastic tune. I teach that as the first tune. The second tune that I teach is Going Home, which is another 6/8 slow air. Hard for me to remember which gave me the most trouble in terms of tune, but I do remember the hardest thing for me when I was learning to play was the bottom hand and the thumb. So I remember it was like my first or second lesson. I just remember having this pain in this thumb here. Now, I was a kid when I started, and I was a pretty small kid. I was the smallest kid in my class in school. Had a little bit of a growth spurt later, but I have had small hands, and I remember just really having pain in this thumb muscle here on the bottom hand, and that is very common. I actually remember being in tears. Part of it was sitting at my parents' kitchen table with the chanter maybe up like this in a strange angle. So you want to have the chanter sort of vertical-ish. If it can rest on a table or a counter, that's fine. Maybe you rest it on your knee. Maybe you're just holding it. But you don't want to be up here like this. I'll sometimes see people that they rest their forearms on a table and they're doing that. Terrible, terrible idea. You want to try to have play in a neutral position, which is, this is how the pipes are going to be, where your forearms are parallel to the ground or maybe slightly down, not up and not way down. So you want to try to replicate that with your practice chanter. Obviously, the practice chanter is maybe a little bit higher than the pipes, but close-ish. So I would say if your thumb's hurting, that's normal, but you want to try to keep those hands soft. Keep them as soft as you can. If you've been following my teaching, you've heard me talk about the 2 pillars of good technique, of good bagpipe form. And that is keeping your hands as relaxed and loose and soft as possible, right? So the opposite of being tight or stiff or rigid or squeezing, we want to get rid of all that. And I have condensed that down to one word, and that is soft. You want to have soft hands on the chanter. I've heard people say, oh, you want it to be like you're holding a full tube of toothpaste, and you're just squeezing it just enough so that you can see that little bit of toothpaste coming out of the top. Or I heard a kid at a workshop say, my teacher says it's like you're holding a baby bird. You don't want to squish it, but you don't want it to get away. Those are all fine analogies. The way I think about it is you want to just have the absolute minimum amount of pressure needed to cover the holes. And for most pipers, most of the time, we have too much pressure, right? So the chanter doesn't change the sound if you squeeze too hard. That'd be a cool invention if you had that. If somehow like you would get an auditory signal that, oh, I'm squeezing too tight. So instead, what you have to rely in is your own sense of pressure. And what I would recommend is you go back to playing something really, really soft, or sorry, really, really easy, and just try to relax your hands as much as possible. Just even playing the low G or playing a scale, and see if you can relax your hands and relax your hands. And eventually, your fingers will slip off the holes. But until you get to that point, you can go softer. So soft hands, that's number one. And then the second pillar of good form is to keep them low. We don't need to lift our fingers really high. We just keep them nice and low. Now, you will see pipers who raise their fingers high, and even really good pipers, but it's not needed, and it slows you down. On a long note, you can do whatever you want. Da, da, dee. On a long note, you can lift those fingers high. It doesn't help you, but it's not as important. On short notes, they have to be really, really close to the chanter. There's just no way to play these quick 16th notes and 32nd notes and cut them the way that we like to in our pipe tunes if you are lifting your fingers really high off the chanter. So soft and low. Those are the things you want to do. Low and soft. Great. All right. Great comments in here. Mark Lamont says, watch a video of John D. Burgess. His hands are softly on his chanter. Amazing player who is considered the first real piping prodigy. I agree with the first part, two comments, not so much on the third one. John D. Burgess was absolutely a fantastic player. I knew him in his later days. He was past his playing days, but I remember he judged me a few times in Scotland. Fantastic person, and a real character, just a real flamboyant, outgoing character. Just think of sort of like these glamorous movie stars of the past generations. He was sort of like that. He was a true star of piping, and his personality, he backed it up with his track record. He won the gold medal in Scotland, which is the top prize, at age 16. So he was a true prodigy. I don't think he was the first one. There's certainly one of the great talents of the piping world. And there's a fantastic video of Burgess playing. If you just look up John D. Burgess, Seamus McNeill, and those are two great characters of piping. And there's, I think there's a BBC or some television program, and it's John Burgess playing pipes. And there's multiple things about it, that it's a master class in how to play with ease. So, I mean, it just barely looks like he's blowing bubbles in milk with his blowpipe. Drones don't move. Everything is just really still. And then the fingers hardly coming off the chanter. So that's the gold standard right there, to not only look like it's easy, but to actually have it be easy. So when you watch that, it's like, wow, he makes it look easy. Well, I would argue that it looks easy because it is easy for him. So how can you do something like play the bagpipes and have it be easy? Well, practice, getting in shape, but also doing things properly. And that goes right back to your early stages, or wherever you are in your piping career, and practicing in a way which you play with a lot of ease. Keep the hands soft, keep them low, make sure your pipes are optimized so that they're as efficient as possible. I really do think, like, you watch a great athlete, I just think of like Roger Federer, one of the great tennis players, and he just had so much smoothness and finesse with his playing. Obviously, he's an insanely powerful athlete. And you say, well, it just looks easy for him. And I think certain things that he could do that were exceptionally difficult were easy for him because he'd optimized his technique and because he'd practiced it, right? There's a lot going on when you're playing the pipes. We have the fingering, we have the technique, we have the timing, we have our tempo, we're marching around, we're blowing our pipes. There's multiple things going on, and it's impossible to focus on all of them. But in order to be good, all those things have to be good, even when you're not thinking about them. So how can you play a good burl without thinking about it? How can you keep a steady bag pressure when you're not thinking about it? How can you keep a steady tempo when you're thinking about something else? Well, the way we do that is by practicing things properly and getting enough reps and enough practice that it's good enough on its own. So it requires you to get automatic so that these things just happen on their own. So you can think, oh, what's the next tune that's going to be coming up here? Oh, yeah. And that, when you have that thought about the next tune, that your hands don't just fall off the chanter or that you forget to blow. In the early stages, you have to think about the blowing. And I see this with students when they go from the practice chanter and they transition to the pipes. You have to think about blowing and squeezing and all the mechanics of it because you're new to it. But then what happens when you, let's see, what was I saying? When you've practiced it enough, it becomes automatic. And if you read about the theories of motor learning and blowing your pipes or playing a burl, these are all motor skills. There's 3 stages. They call the, now I'm blanking on the 3 stages. But the first stage is where you sort of have to think about every step. And you're sort of like using words and rules, and it's the verbal stage. And then the final stage is the autonomous stage where these things happen automatically. The middle stage is called the associative stage, where you're kind of in between. You're thinking a little bit about it, but some of it's automatic. So that's how you do it. You work on all these things separately, and your skills get better, and they become more optimized, and they're more consistent, and then eventually they become autonomous. So another way to think about it is, like in the cartoons where the cartoon character is tempted by making a decision, and there's a little angel and a little devil, that sort of pop up on their shoulders, and it's as if the angel and devil they're like 2 little characters inside that person's mind or their soul, kind of like pulling them in each direction. Well, it's almost like you could think about each one of these skills that you're doing at the same time. They're like little characters. It's like, oh, well, here's the little burl little character, and then here's the blowing character, and here's the what tune comes next character. So there's all these little entities. This is all hypothetical, sort of metaphoric here, but it's as if they're these little entities, and you train each one when you practice. I'm going to work on my blowing. I'm going to work on my blowing. I'm going to work on my squeezing. I'm going to work on my burls. I'm going to work on my memorization. And you focus on that thing with the goal that when you're playing and when you can think about one thing and your blowing or your burls or your crossing noises or your memorization, that those little elements, that they do the right thing even when you're not with them, even when you're shining the spotlight of your attention somewhere else, that you've practiced them properly and sufficiently so that they do what they're supposed to do automatically, right? Okay, let's keep looking here. Yeah, well, your pipe should be easy for you to play. And that's a direct quote from Malcolm McRae, who is an Australian piper who lived in Scotland for many years. Top prize winner, respected judge. And at a Pibroch workshop that I was at with Malcolm years ago, he said the exact words, "Your pipes should be easy for you." And what that means is that you want to have them optimized. There's a lot of things that go into that. So you can watch my YouTube video called "Why Are My Pipes So Hard?" There's lots of reasons your pipes can be hard. But if they're easy for you, everything has to be right. Sizing, blowpipe, sizing of bag, proper drone reads, good drones, drone reads optimized, adjusted, pipe chanter read with the tone protector. So it's got the right amount of moisture, the right strength. It's a good read. It's efficient. That's been broken in. And you have to be in shape, right? You can give a perfect set of pipes to someone, absolute optimized pipes, but if you're not in shape and you're rusty or your physicality isn't there, it's not going to work. So you have to be in shape. Your pipes have to be dialed in. You're working together. Your pipes should be easy for you. That's the secret. So you look at a top player and they're just busting out complicated tunes or the most beautiful Pibroch with every note just perfectly dialed in. How do they do that? A lot of practice, but they're in the zone. They're feeling comfortable. Everything is dialed in. They're not struggling and hoping, right? I read a very interesting book a couple months ago, and it was written by a former Google data scientist who's obsessed with basketball, sports in general. And he looked at all the statistics, like the entire statistical record for the National Basketball Association, our professional league here, and did all this data analysis on it. And the book is called Who Makes the NBA? All kinds of really interesting statistics about height and hand size and different physical attributes that they measure and what is predictive of success and sociological factors. Is it an advantage to be like from your background? Is it an advantage to have a father that played in the NBA? All kinds of really interesting statistics. Well, one thing that he looked at was the ability to perform under pressure. So the ability to perform under pressure would be, in basketball, would be like, how well can you, what's your shooting percentage in the last couple minutes of a game when it's within 5 points? And they compare that to every other time. So they can define sort of like what's a high pressure clutch situation based on the score and how close it is to the end of the game. And then they look at how well a player does there compared to everything else. And this was an amazing statistic to me. They found that 0 players are better in the clutch. That they found no NBA player who is better under pressure than when they're not under pressure. They found some players that were the same, and those were the great players. The great players are the ones that, whatever their shooting accuracy is throughout their whole career, when it gets to the crunch time at the end of a game, under pressure, when it's close, they're the same. Nobody gets better. Most people get worse. They are not as good under pressure when the game is on the line. So that is a really interesting statistic to me. And that matches with my experience, which is if you're in a competition scenario, you should not expect that you're going to do better when it really matters. Like if it's a big competition, it's the gold medal, it's the worlds, maybe it's just a performance you're doing, it's a non-competitive performance, but you really want it to be good. Do not expect that it's going to be better than what you've been doing before when you're not under pressure. So that informs us. If you want to do well when it really matters, you need to be doing well in the days and weeks and months leading up to it. So in SFU, we had the saying cruise and win. And cruise and win means you have to be at that level of performance to win going into the thing. Don't expect that, oh gosh, we're getting close. Now it's going to get great at the end. It just doesn't happen. It doesn't happen to elite basketball players. It's not going to happen to you. All right, we're getting close to the end here. What is the simplest definition of pibroch? Well, great question. So pibroch is a Gaelic word, which literally translated means bagpipe music. But what we do is that we refer to it as a type of bagpipe music, which the tunes are long, maybe 5 or 7 minutes, up to 20, 25 minutes. And they consist of a theme and variations. The theme is typically quite slow and involves a lot of nuanced phrasing and expression. And then with each variation, it has the same basic melody that you heard in the ground, and you represent those melody notes in a slightly different way with a different rhythmic context, different embellishments and grace noting, and a different tempo. So there are tunes that have a ground and one variation. Typical would be a tune with a ground and maybe between 5 and 10 variations. There are tunes that have even more, maybe up to 20 variations. So a variation might be a torlua variation. So you play all of the notes of your, that came across in the theme in the ground, but then you play them with a torlua on each note. Or a crunlua variation, which would be your melody notes with crunluas. There's a variation called a Gius variation, where it's your theme note and a short low A. There's a shul variation where you play your theme note and then a higher note. There's a really cool variation in a tune called Fair Honey, where you have your theme notes, and in between each one you have a gili, which is a high A doubling. So there's all kinds of really cool different types of variations. These pibroch tunes are still being written, but many of them are quite ancient, hundreds and hundreds of years old. And we, a lot of our great tunes came from the McCrimmons, who are on Skye, and the McCrimmon family. They were the hereditary pipers to the MacLeods, and for many generations, they had a piping school up on Skye and wrote a lot of these fantastic pibroch tunes. There's still new tunes being written. This book came out a couple years ago, the Shasta Collection, and this was a compilation of the tunes that were submitted to a tune writing competition. And I wrote a few of the winning tunes. The first one I wrote was for my teacher, Colin McKenzie. It's me and Colin, and it's Colin McKenzie's Salute. So written in the old style. You know, when I wrote those tunes, I didn't try to make them sound particularly modern. I wanted to try to write a tune that was in the style of the classic pibrochs. I'm not sure on the exact number of pibrochs that we have, but in terms of that canon of tunes from the, excluding the modern pibrochs, I think we have probably 250 to 300. So really, really cool. And it's not everybody's cup of tea, but the pipers who love playing pibroch, they really love it. And it's, I think some of them might agree or disagree with me, but I think it's some of the most challenging and most interesting and most satisfying music to play because of the subtlety and the expression that you get to put into it. So if you want to look up some tunes, some great tunes that I recommend you look up, one would be The Lament for the Children, The Lament for Donald Dougal Mackay, I Got a Kiss of the King's Hand, The Lament for Patrick Og McCrimmon, one of the all-time greats. It really features the high G note, which is a very mournful note. And some beginner pibrochs. The first tunes that I usually teach people is a tune called The Monroe's Salute. Another tune is called The Little Spree. The Monroe's Salute and The Little Spree I have for download on my shop. It's a tune lesson download. You get the sheet music, a recording of me playing the tune, and also a recorded lesson of me talking through the tune. I also have on my shop a lesson. It's actually recorded of a master class that I gave on one of my all-time favorite tunes called Too Long in This Condition. Too Long is also on my album Bagpipe Revolution. And I did it as a duet through multi-tracking. I recorded the melody part and I recorded a harmony part for it. And it's I really love that track because it's something that I'd always wanted to do, which was to play a pibroch and then record a harmony part with it and get the harmonies really, really tight. And you get some really cool sort of sonic kind of effects with the full, rich, lush sound of the bagpipe, but played in harmony. So you have 2 chanters going and 6 drones going. Mark Lamont throws in the comments, A Flame of Wrath is awesome. Yeah, a Flame of Wrath for Squinting Patrick. Fantastic tune. That one is one of the most aggressive, rhythmic, and driving tunes. Really matches the title, Flame of Wrath. Great. Excellent. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for joining in and for putting in the comments. This is really fun. I'm going to keep doing this. I've got a little bit of traveling later in the summer, but when I'm around and if I can get to it from the road, I will. I'll flip on the YouTube and we'll have a little conversation. Check out my YouTube channel, bagpipelessons.com. I'm posting videos all the time. We're doing long videos, live videos, and doing shorts every day. We're posting new shorts. Check out my social media channels on Instagram and Facebook, bagpipelessons.com. And if you like this information and you want more of it, I do live classes every week on Zoom, and you can join me live with the other members of my bagpipelessons.com inner circle. Check that out at bagpipelessons.com/membership. And of course, there's my shop, bagpipelessons.com/shop with all the tone protectors and the toolkits and bagpipe gauges and all that stuff. Let's be in touch. Thanks, everybody. Hope your summer is going great, and we will see you next time. Thanks, everybody. Mahalo.